Welcome to Notion and Motion. I am Mirai, a product designer and Notion ambassador based in Toronto. This podcast is all about exploring how people use Notion in their lives. Whether you're just getting started or already a Notion pro, there is something here for you. In each episode, we'll dive into real world Notion workflows, discover productivity hacks, and share inspiring stories from Notion users around the world. Let's dive in. Welcome from Washington. And
Yay, America.
so, before starting the episode, let's talk about you more. That what are you doing right now? Who you are? I kind of give the hint, but where are you joining from? A bit of your journey as a human being.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Sam. I'm a podcast producer based in Washington, D.C., capital of America. I've been a Notion ambassador since the beginning of this year, 2025, and I've been creating content. Thank you. And I've been creating content for Notion coming up on 2 years now. I started using Notion about half a decade ago, so 5 years, and it was initially just to keep track of my classes, but I quickly got overwhelmed, so I stopped using Notion for about like 4 months or so, and I just didn't think I'd pick it up again. But when I moved and then started working while I was in school and then now full-time work, I have found Notion to be really good at those transition points in your life to really understand what you need to focus on, like organizing the chaos. So I picked it back up when I moved to DC. And since then, I have just gone deeper down the rabbit hole with it. And now I create content for Notion with Notion. I host events in DC and generally am just excited for Make with Notion, less than a month away now
Yeah,
in SF and to be with the community. And that's what I'm currently looking forward to, Notion related.
that's awesome. You're probably gonna join the SF1, but there are also because now this year there are other locations like Munich,
Yeah,
Berlin, Paris, and I believe six places, like six more places
something like
than
that.
New York.
Yeah.
So that's sick. I'm really interested about the talks that will happen because last year was pretty cool and this year I bet it'll be even better. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, thank you. You actually kind of answered the second question, but I still wanted to hear more because that's interesting that you stopped and you come back. So the
Yeah.
question was, how did you start using Notion? And you said that with the exams and the student life, which is similar
Totally.
to a previous episode actually. But do you mind sharing more that how was that process and how did it go?
Yeah, I think that initially I was really excited, as most people are, because Notion is deceptively simple. You open up the app either on your desktop or phone, but let's be real, your desktop, because mobile has a long way to go. And it's just a blank page, and you can do anything you want with it, right? You can make a database, you can make a to-do list, you can use a template from the marketplace where there's amazing creators, including Mirai. And I think that initially I was really excited, but quickly just got overwhelmed. Suddenly you hit a point in your Notion journey where you just have too much information. You don't really know what you're doing, and it's hurting more than helping your cause as a student, as a worker, as just an individual or team. So I think it was at that point about a few months into using Notion when I stopped because it was just hindering my progress. And yeah, that's honestly the most common thing I've heard when I talk to people both in DC and across the States. It's not so much, oh, I've never heard of Notion or never used Notion, but it's I've tried it and it hasn't worked. So that's been the audience I focus on because I think that I will be the first to acknowledge that Notion is not for everybody. I think that's usually a blind spot for us as ambassadors because it's great, but it really isn't for everybody. But I think there is that group of people between the ones who've never used Notion and the power users that just need a friend, a peer, a colleague, an ambassador to help them figure out how they can actually use Notion better because it was 2 times of trying for me personally.
Exactly, especially with the busy life, like as you said, either worker or student, things are going on. And
Yeah,
are you gonna build the things from scratch to do things, or are you gonna catch the actual tasks? Like if you cannot manage the tasks, then how are you gonna catch up them? So I totally hear
exactly.
you. because one of my friend was the same that she was also a student and she didn't want to leave other tools. And I kind of, as I said, I kind of pushed her like, actually, you can use databases to make it easier. Like when you have that little push and that empathy for sure, it's a little bit easier than how you do. And especially when you start from a blank page. It is totally hard, like,
Yeah.
because again, things are there waiting for you and you're trying to understand it. But I'm glad you're in a perspective that, like, you can totally feel the pain and then there we go, you have the solution for it. That's pretty
Yeah.
sick, actually. So right now, from the starting point to now, do you think you work on more personal projects or work projects when you use Notion?
I think initially it was more personal, but it's blended more and more between personal and professional. Quite recently, I've been diving more into team spaces. That's actually the page that I'll show in a bit, where I have had the fortune of being able to create spaces for people who both have used Notion before and haven't. And I think it's felt like a step up. I feel like Notion for a long time just felt like my individual thing. And I think that's honestly how most individuals use it. They're not like showing around their notions or making templates. But I think that I've noticed the transition, especially as I've created more and more content for Notion. There's really only so many like day in my lives that people want to see. And honestly, there's like prettier people that are making that. So I'm already just at a disadvantage. But what I can provide is being in a more team space owner perspective. So yeah, maybe by necessity, I've also been shifting a little bit.
True. It's also pretty common because most likely what I see the pattern is people starting with the personal way because it's the easiest and the like most needed one. And then
Yeah,
eventually it just like turns on to the work related projects or like study life, which also count as work in my mind.
yeah,
And it just like from Notion perspective, also there's no one type of persona that either they're using just for this or either way. So I wasn't surprised to hear that it's the same for you as well. So
totally.
as you mentioned already, would you like now we're gonna share a page that you built on Notion. And do you think this is the most proudful page you built or the most used page you built? Like, would you like to share some like details about it?
Yeah, I think with any love that I have with a Notion product, it's love hate because as any person who uses Notion extensively knows, the pages that you love the most, they probably were the most hard earned or hard won. And we're not out here like saving lives, guys. So I know I'm making it sound like a battle, but it really does feel like sometimes only you know how much work you put into it. And I think the page I'm about to show, what I like about it is that it's still very much in progress, which I think are the best Notion pages. I think, again, there's like a tendency, especially for Notion creators, to show like a complete beautified page or workspace. But at the end of the day, I think the best Notion pages are the ones that help you do your work, and those can be as simple or as complex as you want. So that's what I'll say. It's love hate for sure, but mostly love. Let's be generous
Do
today.
you, in this case, what? So the hate part, obviously, you put more time and effort, as I understand.
Yeah,
What about
yeah.
the love part? Like, what is the love story behind this page that you're gonna show?
Yes. So to give a bit more context, this is our content performance dashboard for an organization called the AI Collective. And this is an organization that's promoting just AI literacy, AI events, AI knowledge, basically trying to be the forefront voice of the AI progress across the world. It's started in SF, but has chapters worldwide, including Toronto and also in DC. So for
Yay.
DC, I was our creative director, where I started a podcast, very on brand, and now I have moved into our director of knowledge management position, so I can work on more education initiatives and right now primarily focus on helping spread Notion education through the DC AI community. So this dashboard that I'm about to show has all of our content pieces that we've been working on this year. And what I'm particularly proud about is how I feel like for the first time, I've really used relational database properties and having multiple databases talk to each other in a way that doesn't just feel like an add-on, but actually integral to the workflow itself. So that's what I love about this
Wow.
piece.
That even I am proudful of that. Like,
Thank you.
especially
Oh
like
my
with
God.
big audience and for the world, it is it requires hard work for sure. And you have to think about the all logic behind the relational databases and like again, the other things are still going on and you're still building this one. So like I'm really excited to see that.
Thank you. Should we just get into it? Should
Yeah,
I hit share?
of
All
course.
right. So are you seeing that all right on your end?
Yes.
Okay, great. So these are just the different views we have, but the relevant one is actually one of Notion's newest views. So if you go up here and look at all of the different views, which I know that the students rightfully pointed out in a previous episode, there's maybe too many at times for people. But for the Notion Power users, we really like them. And there is a new view called feed. So I've really been using this because, especially for creating Notion spaces where the majority of your users aren't as frequent of Notion users as you, the feed view is the best for providing the most context at a glance. All of these other views, like calendar or timeline, it's not super intuitive, like
Hmm.
what to do when you're just listed with these options. But so far for me, the feed view, it's the easiest, even if it's bigger text. That's what people usually want who don't use Notion as
Hmm.
much. They just want to know what they're looking at. And this is intuitively sorted by our publication date. So this will actually go out in the future. Hopefully, by the time this video is published, this is good incentive for me. But I will take us into a Substack Live I actually just recorded with a director of product and policy council. So as you can see, we have the main plan or page here. This is what we're talking about, the White House AI Action Plan, details, guest information, courtesy of Notion AI, which we can get into a bit later. And then in the customized layout, these are the different databases. So to prepare for this episode, I was reading into a blog that our guests had written about the AI action plan. That was the piece of literature that we centered the discussion on. So it was something substantive. And this was clipped with Notion Clipper. If you don't know what that is, go check out the student episode that Mirai did that'll explain it for you. And it's our relational database. So we go between our knowledge database and our content database. We also have started categorizing our guests. So John was our guest for this episode. So this is a different database. This is our contact database. So we are able to keep track of not only who we interface with as a chapter, but if they've done like a podcast episode with us before. And
Hmm.
then these are just sub items that are technically within the same database of the content database, but they are just a more structured way to have a promo plan or what I just used for the recording and episode outline where I can actually dive into the specifics. So
Hmm.
this is a database, the content database that's connected to our knowledge database and source database, and I'm sure more databases in the future.
So far, I mean, given the fact this podcast is relatively new, but this is the most detailed one so far that I saw because actually Florian's database is also pretty detailed,
That
but
was pretty,
because
yeah,
of
pretty comprehensive, I would say, what I saw.
this one, I think it's the relations between the information around the web and the decisions that you take. I think that's why it felt that like this is a lot of details, which is great because as you said, like when we think about the design perspective and the whole cognitive overload, this is not too much to see because of like the view as you used feed view, which is great
Yeah,
actually. Like with gallery view or the board, to me
yeah,
at least, it would be hard to digest.
right.
But with the feed view, it's just like any other common social media tool that we use, and you're like, this is your work life that you're working on. This is pretty cool. I
Thank
now
you.
I understand
Thanks.
even more why you're proudful of that. Like, I can
Thank you so
exactly see
much.
the love. Do you think from the hate part, there anything that struggled you more than other Notion pages?
I think it just took a while for the relational databases to make sense. Like I think at the beginning I just wanted it to happen, but I didn't really understand the need for it. It was more of a want. And I think that's another blind spot I've run into as a Notion creator where there's so many features that we want to just to include when I still make templates, but I'm kind of on a hiatus. But when I was making templates, I used to put way too many properties in each sample page. But at the end of the day, like you probably only need 4 or 5 properties per database to really make it shine. And I think that obviously like maybe we should establish I'm using hate very lightly. I don't hate many things and Notion's definitely not one of them. But I think that's definitely one of the obstacles I faced, which was actually making sure what was in this database was needed and not just what I wanted because it would like look nice. Yeah,
Hmm. Because given the fact again, like there are already a lot of information to go through with, but also
yeah,
with the properties and proper filters that you wanted to make even easier to use and easier to find the things. But in the meantime, the paradox that like 7 properties, do I really need that? Or like 3, 4 would be
exactly.
enough to do it? Like it's really hard decision to make, but
Yeah, totally.
it's like it is amazing. It's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much for sharing that.
Of course.
That was another point that I was going to go through, but we kind of actually covered that too, like the struggle. Except these parts, do you find yourself in a place that like, oh, like this is also hard to build with Notion, or this is hard to put together in Notion or something like that? Like, except that page that you showed us?
Yeah, I think more and more so like my personal life, I agree with Florian that I don't feel the need to track everything personally in Notion. I actually am not a big, I shouldn't say this because of course I support the idea, but when Notion recently released its offline mode, we're talking on August 21st, and I was excited that other people were excited. But for me, I'm just like, when I think about going to a picnic or a park, I'm not like, let me spend more time on my screens. But I totally get what the students have brought up that since they, at least one is a commuter student, so of course, like she's working on the go. Like I totally respect that and I'm excited for them because they were talking about offline mode, and I was like, it's coming, it's coming. So I think that's one thing that I think I'm more intentional about nowadays, where if there isn't a use case for Notion, especially like my personal life, then I just won't use it. And that's also what I just try to like be realistic when I talk to people in settings where like I am trying to get them to at least try Notion or retry Notion. It's that maybe it isn't for you. And again, I just think that's not stated enough because it's not like Notion doesn't have so many amazing use cases, but of course it's never going to cover everything. And I think I've actually had more success with people being interested in my templates or my Notion work if I lead with like a more realistic approach versus just trying to like bulldoze them with all of the great qualities of Notion. Like they feel like they're talking to a human being, I think, when I do the first way.
Exactly. Because like if you're using for your needs and if that's enough, there's no need to overconsume it, like totally.
Totally. Yeah.
Honestly, related with these two, my first template was camping checklist because my first camping experience was to me really important because I've never done that before. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I love nature, I love camping. Like even though I didn't do it, I love camping still. And then I was like, okay, let me do something for that. I built for myself, shared with my friends and everything. Then people loved it, and I was like, okay, if people loved it, they can use it as well. So that's how I made the first template. I
Yeah.
find that like with offline mode, I would use that one a lot because
Hmm.
I would prefer to not be online when I'm camping and then just shut down everything, be with like nature and then just enjoy the time.
Yeah.
Which I hear you, like even that time if you don't need to check things or like if things are already like integrated at the background and you don't need to be even offline in the tools a lot of times. So I totally hear you
Yes.
actually. That's a pretty good point with a lot of diversity in the softwares right now, especially with AI and everything. So like I hear
Yes,
you.
exactly. But we love offline mode. I know
Yes.
that Notion's been beating the drum. It's been the number one most requested
Yes.
feature. So like I do not want to get canceled here. That's not the goal. we can have our different opinions on offline mode, but we're all excited about it in different ways.
Exactly. The students that you listened, once I heard from the community that like we are able to share it, the first thing I did, I messaged them. I was like,
Good,
yes, you
good,
can do that now. And they were
good.
super hyped, honestly, because
I'm
it
sure.
was a great coincidence to see that like they were also requesting in the episode and very soon it happened. So like I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
Yes, yes.
All right. So we kind of spoke about the struggles, but now let's talk about the even more love part. What feature do you think in Notion is the best or like the thing that you love? And when I say about feature, it's from Adam to pages. It can be a property, it can be a feature in the page, overall about the product and other Notion products too. And why do you love them or love it?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to go with Notion AI, so I'm in direct opposition with Florian. I heard when he said that if Notion AI disappeared tomorrow, it wouldn't affect his workflow. I respect that, but I'm like, that's completely not my life. It would really affect my workflow. And I think Notion AI, especially the agentic features that are coming out and are coming out later, it's a really exciting time to understand how to best critically think with something like AI. I think that the biggest pitfall, and I'm biased because I just do a bunch of AI work, at least in this period, but I do think the biggest pitfall for Notion users, but just AI users in general, is to stop thinking, like to cognitively offload everything to your Notion AI and other AI tools that we all know. But this is a Notion podcast, so we're only going to talk about Notion AI. But it does integrate with those tools if people are interested.
Mhm.
And I think one really good way that we seem to be progressing is with AI agents, and Notion Agent is my favorite agent. I use it pretty consistently, and it you have to manage it just like how you would manage an intern, and to a degree where I, at least for me, I find myself critically thinking, and I say all this on top of the explicit benefits of having an AI just like create your databases, create your pages, edit your pages. It just takes so much of that manual labor out.
Mhm.
And again, I think it's more so as long as you're replacing it with like actual effective work of like making sure it's set up the way you want, not just like leaving it as slop. That's the challenge and opportunity that I've been using. So I am a big proponent of Notion Agent. I'll be making a video on it soon, so hopefully it's out by the time yeah,
Great.
it's out here. But I was able to do a similar video for Notion earlier this year, and it was a great experience. So yeah, I have many reasons to like Notion
I
AI.
mean, kudos the team, like AI team, I feel personally, because from the episode that Florian was in it, I was closer to Florian and I was like, honestly, like
Totally.
it's good, but sure. And then the meeting notes came and I was like, "Pff, wait a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Those
That
are a
was
big
the
hit.
need. Yeah.
Yeah, and the DC office too, or the DC audience, like I demoed that and they really liked it. So yeah, I think people are really responding well to that feature.
There's no doubt about it because now, again, like with everything, it doesn't have to be work related again, by the way. Even I use the AI meeting notes for my personal projects that I'm using. And if I'm in
Yeah.
a topic, like in a chat with my friends, and I'm like, do you have consent for it? Because I'm starting my Notion AI taking notes and then I'm just starting recording it, which is honestly great. And I'm really excited that like the other features coming up. So
Yeah. Me
let's
too.
stay tuned and let's make sure we're adding your YouTube link below so folks can see and like watch your videos as well.
Thank you.
Alrighty, last question. Think about Notion as a brand, as a software, as a community, however you like. What's one thing that you wish that people knew about Notion?
I think I wish people knew that Notion is so subjective and personal to your needs. I think that's something I really noticed this year as I got more involved, is that there are so many people using Notion in such different ways and ways that I'm definitely not using it. And I think when I was first starting out, I viewed that more as like places I needed to hit in order to be an experienced or qualified Notion user. But I think there's definitely a shift once you realize that the way you are using Notion is the way that you should be using Notion. That's not to say like you can't learn more and try more and get better, but there's no end goal. Like we have some pretty big um, and very successful like Notion creators in the community, and I'm very excited to meet them next month. But I think there's a shift of just like everybody can kind of make Notion their own thing. There's so many different ways to be successful with Notion. And I think to quote a Notion Toronto community member, Dave Mentz, like that's why Notion is so beloved because and it's a rare thing for a tech product to be so beloved. You don't see like again other AI communities like just relentlessly championing their product like Notion users or creators do because we know that it's a tool that works for us and not the other way around. And I have a lot of faith in the company that it will continue to do so. So that's what I wish people would know. Like, especially because as a creator, you are developing a brand. Like I try to help young professionals do less. I like Notion AI. I like relational databases. But if you didn't like any of that, like you can do something like what Florian's doing with his content or what the college students are doing. And I think that's what I hope Notion Emotion is showing as well, because that's that's when you start reaching those people again, those like I think about them as like voters, like the disaffected ones who like are maybe a little cynical about Notion. That's when I think we start reaching them again when they see that one episode of me or somebody else that is using Notion the way they would like to. So that's what I wish people would know a bit more. Like Notion's really what you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's vision of it. It just needs to work for you.
I love this answer. I just love it
Thank
because
you.
honestly, that's why I started the podcast to see and show what people are doing. Like, as you said, does something, students are doing anything else, and then you're doing your job and your student life too. And seeing that, like, not it's not just a template blankly or with the sample data that you're putting on, but it's actual news that we saw on your feed database and you're actually
Yeah.
relationing things together and then again you're taking the decisions, taking the actions, and things are gonna build on with real stories, which is pretty crazy to think.
Yeah.
But I totally feel you that like Notion is totally beloved for our ways, as Dave mentioned as well. And it is pretty interesting sparkle to just show it up that like, hey, I actually use for this one, but you can do this one. And then either they like it or not, it just gives the thing to think about it. Like
Exactly.
that's pretty good perspective, actually. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Can I
Um,
ask you a few questions before we
yes,
wrap up?
yes.
So, your LinkedIn posts on Notion are some of, I would say, the best in the Notion LinkedIn communities. They do well, they have good
Thank you.
pictures. So, what's the key to a good LinkedIn post about Notion specifically for people who might also want to do that or continue doing that?
Good question. I think, first of all, so cliche, but honesty. Like I put my honest emotions plus experiences with Notion, plus with the Notion events as well.
Hmm.
For example, the last one of the last workshops I did, I shared a chemistry club page that I did. Where is this chemistry club coming from? I'm a designer, but I love chemistry. And my friends are doing this chemistry club for fun and like we love to learn. So I literally shared that picture that like the chemistry club is behind of me and people ask a lot of questions about it because it's off, right? Like from a designer, you would expect to see portfolio, which I also had, but like more related things. When it's interesting and when it's honest, I think it makes it better in my mind.
Yeah,
But I mean, I
totally.
didn't think it was better, but thank you so much for your words. I think
I
that
thought
makes the
so.
difference. Except that I really engage with people and like I try to give kudos to them as well because I am what I believe is I am an individual, but I love contributing. That means that I cannot do things just by myself. Like, I don't think that's more valuable, at least. That's why I try to give kudos to everyone on the Notion Toronto community and like tag them personally and like time, like step by step. So they will also be credit, like they're gonna get the credit from them. I think those are like the key things that I do. At least I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember to do. But do you think that was an answer? Like this, does this answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think the personal touch is something that is constantly being tweaked and refined on LinkedIn. And I think the ones who are able to do it well and be more authentic and genuine with it are the ones that are able to spark that appreciation and community. So that's at least what I picked up on. One other question I had is you are a Notion template creator. You were featured recently, and there's like thousands, over I think you said 14,000 Notion creators.
Yes.
I've been lucky as well to be featured. So it's a really cool thing.
Yes.
But I've noticed that you don't have a coffee Notion template, and I know that you are somewhat of a coffee connoisseur. So as a fan, and I'm sure I speak for many of us, where's the coffee time? Like, what are the different brews that we should be focusing on?
Yeah.
Where are the places in Toronto? Where's the coffee template? I must ask.
Great question and great attention to detail because I have a bunch of pages in Notion about the coffee, like everything about coffees. So I'm totally cooking something soon
Okay.
that I didn't share on as a template yet,
Okay.
because like as you mentioned, I really love anything about coffee, and I'm going specifically events that like learning about X origin from somewhere and then like why that beans are different. Da, da, da. So like
Yeah.
these type of things I want to share with people. But I'm trying to, again, with the cognitive load, I'm trying to make it perfect. So
Mhm.
thanks for asking. So let's
Okay.
say it is soon. And totally I will add to anywhere online that like people also can find it, and like
Good.
like I don't know anything about coffee that they wanted to learn, then they can learn about it, and totally I will send it to you as well.
Okay. Thank you. You
Thanks for
you guys
asking.
heard it here first. A Notion in Motion exclusive. Yeah,
Yes,
those are my
exactly.
questions. Thank you.
As a VIP. Thank you very much. Do you have another question to
I had one more question. What is special about the Notion Toronto community for people who aren't there? Like what is
me?
special about it? Because I think a lot of us can see it through the events you guys host, and you've of course had people already from Toronto on the podcast. But in your perspective, like what's special about it?
I think overall Toronto is really charming. This is totally controversial and personal, but I feel that Toronto is one of the tech hubs in North America, and people from the community that like the hosts that we're like being together is really passionate about building a community and passionate about sharing the things that they know. Last 2 or 3 events we did the workshops, and people loved it because they wanted to see what are the different styles to do, who's using for what, and like what are the formulas that people are scared of. These type of things, I feel like when we put it together, it makes the difference. And like right now in Toronto, we are around, including myself, I believe more than 4 or 5 ambassadors already. So of course, like more people means that like more time that we can put together and we can just like support
Right,
each other. I think
right.
that's one of the things. I'm not sure Washington ambassadors, like I don't know how many of them you have, but like that's totally something else too.
Yeah, we have a couple, but so far I think I'm the only active one, which is why it's been great to partner with the AI Collective because that team is quite robust and spans many different tech communities in DC. So I think in general, first of all, that's like awesome, and I think that's the ideal setup. But I think as long as there is a sense of community wherever you are, I think Notion is so versatile where you can just pair it with people who in my case, are interested in AI, but tech more broadly, project management, business, personal, like any community that's thriving in your area, I'm sure there is a Notion use case for it.
Exactly. Especially also like again, kudos to team that like they've putting a lot of effort on it. Josh, Sohrab, Aisha, um, Leanne, Fayez, like a lot of people. So like thanks to
Yeah.
them, it's like even getting bigger and getting better for sure.
So those were the questions I had. Thanks for letting me ask.
Thank you so much. I usually don't expect to get questions, but honestly, I love it because overall I love questions and answering it. So thanks for all your questions around it. And yeah, hope to see you next time.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this conversation and wanted to discover more productivity with Notion, be sure to subscribe and join our growing community. You can find me on LinkedIn or check out my templates at Notion, and you can find all details description below. Thanks so much for listening, and catch you in the next episode.